Hello and welcome back to MDG Media. We are bringing you final round front 9 MPO lead card coverage of the 2025 Konopiście Open just south of Prague, Czech Republic. It has been an exciting first 2 rounds, and we are going to kick off our third and final one. Only 18 holes separate our lead card from that coveted Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series champion title. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Elias Luukkonen.
What's up, Connor? What's up, viewers? Nice to be here once again. And as you said, a title here. It's gonna be one of 5 Elite Series titles that are going to be shared on European soil this season. Exciting, and this one definitely one that you need to score on, especially if you're not named Mauri Villmann, as he has a huge lead, already 6 strokes before the final round.
Lauri Lehtinen, currently tied second, sponsored by Latitude 64, has all the skills to shred on this course and has kicked off his season with some of his best play of all time.
Niklas Anttila, no stranger to Elite Series wins this season. Not in Europe, as this is the first Elite Series in Europe, but he has already won 2 Elite Series tournaments back-to-back in the United States.
And Teemu Lampainen, a very talented young Finnish player, has done very well historically at Finnish nationals, has one of the loudest audible snaps on his backhand of any player I've seen live.
Absolutely. Starting on hole number 1, 122 meters. Hole that plays much shorter than the distance marked on the screen there, as we're playing extremely downhill. Probably have to throw about 95 meters worth of power to reach the basket. Most prominent feature on this hole is going to be the OB left. So if you want to throw that hyzer backhand, you want to throw something slow that hopefully gets to the ground before the basket, not going OB. Or if you're playing it safer, go for the forehand hyzer.
Be quiet and just enjoy the wonderful.
Incredible energy here on the tee of 1.
First to tee. He's your current leader, sponsored by MVP Disc Sports, and representing Estonia. Please give it up for Mr. Mauri Villmann!
Coming into this third and final round, Mauri has been very consistent with a 13 and 14 under respectively in his first 2 rounds. He shapes the forehand hyzer, ending well to the right, will be just underneath those branches and within putting range, although slightly obstructed.
Sponsored by Latitude 64 and representing Finland, please put your hands together for Mr. Lauri Lehtinen!
Lauri coming fresh off a Finnish Pro Tour win. A tournament that he destroyed by, I believe, about 6 strokes over the second place. Played his highest rating average that he has ever played in a tournament, about 1070 to win the tournament. He's also going to be very much next to Mauri there. Challenging putt.
Third to tee. Sponsored by Discmania and representing Finland, please give a warm welcome to Mr. Niklas Anttila.
Niklas is the defending champion coming into this weekend, winning the 2023 Konopiście Open. No stranger to winning here on this course. Plays to the right side tree line with that late overstability and some fantastic nose angle to hit the ground before the basket, as you mentioned, Elias, and slide on up. You cannot throw a safer, better drive than that.
And rounding up our lead card for the final day, sponsored by Latitude 64 and representing Finland, please put your hands together for Mr. Teemu Lampainen.
Now, Teemu is somebody that doesn't play as many events on tour as some of the other players. He really focuses on the big events, and I feel like he almost every time he plays really well. That's something that a lot of young players, I feel like, have trouble doing, playing all sorts of events and not quite shining on the biggest stage, but that's definitely Teemu's strength.
We'll see if he's able to shine here, and as well. I was going to say, I think there's no way that he's running this simple layup to take your par here on 1 from that range. Not worth the risk. Mauri, however, is within firing range from the bush's edge.
That is just what he has been doing for 2 rounds already. Incredible start. And if you're one of these other guys on the card, that must be a scary sign, because you need to be catching some strokes early on. And Mauri making putts like that, it's not going to be easy on the rest of the card.
Lauri with a similar putt to Mauri. You see a little bit tentative with that OB directly behind. 3 is not a particularly bad score on this hole. Of course, it's an attackable par 3 for the birdie, which we see Teemu clean up there for his 3.
You can see the flag being pretty much dead right now. The wind on the final round was interesting. I feel like the gusts were much bigger than the first 2 days, but the wind was very much inconsistent. Some of the times perfectly calm. Had some rain even later on during the round.
We move on to hole 2, a 169-meter, very uphill par 4. Given that it's uphill the whole way, it plays a lot longer than that, well over 200 meters in terms of distance required. This first shot can either be straight and then play a shortcut angle through the woods, or a straight to left fading backhand hyzer for most, which gets you around this bend and gives you an open look for then that straight to right fading shot, beating this late guardian and hopefully finding your way up to the green. This dual fairway, or dual option on the fairway, provides players a lot of flexibility in both their landing zone off the tee, as well as what sort of shot they want to shape on the second, a backhand or forehand hyzer. We go to Mauri, and he tends to prefer a nose-up hyzer that goes far straight and then late left to get into the intended sweet spot by the course designer.
2 inside there, an easy mistake to make. I'd say it's better to be inside on the hyzer than outside, because if you push it too far straight, you're going to be on the straight side woods, and it's really not an ideal angle. As Niklas also inside, not going to be an easy look for birdie for either of them, but if they got a little bit lucky, they might have some sort of a chance.
Lauri as well, finding that early left. Both of them will be in a tricky situation. We go now to Teemu. There's that snap I mentioned earlier, very high, using the width and a ton of speed. Hits the gap perfectly, goes way left, which will open up his angle on the second shot nicely.
That's the perfect shot, and Teemu being very comfortable with a forehand approach. I'd almost say that's his main way to approach from that distance of around 70 meters. And this is an interesting play from Niklas, so that's the straight gap that you can go for off the tee, but instead he opts to go for it on the second. He's going to be stuck in the woods, but I think it's very much possible to get a par from there.
Lauri able to fight his way out of the bushes, but doesn't complete his flight up to the green. Will be left in deep circle 2. Mauri from a nearly identical spot does get his way up there. Will be underneath that last guardian, so should be able to drop to a knee or a wide straddle to create an open look. Unfortunate for Teemu.
Some early struggles from the lead card on this hole too. From a scoring standpoint, really not that surprising, as Niklas throws a dime of an approach. Perfect shot there. Hole 2 is only birdied about 20% of the time in the final round, compared to hole 1, 48%. So this is definitely the trickier birdie out of the first 2, even though most of the time you are gonna get away with a par. Though potentially not Teemu. That was a weak approach. All he had to do was to get over that bush. He's gonna be tested with a low ceiling 10-meter putt there.
Nice long bid by Lauri. Yeah, Teemu had multiple unforced errors, the previous upshot and then this one, which landed him here. For par now, he gives a snappy little flick of the wrist out, and to be honest, a decent bid from where he was, but just an unrealistic make to expect. We go now to Mauri.
A miss, a strong miss, well online, good wrist action. Feel like that's the most impressive about Mauri's spin putt for the past 2 rounds is that while his putt is very much direct from the belly button, typical old school European spin putt, we're not really utilizing the up and down motion of the putter. He's still not missing the line. He's always, when he's missing, he's hitting the band or the cage. As that's gonna be 1 over par for the card on that hole. Moving on to hole number 3, we're gonna do much better on this hole as it's one of the easiest holes on the course for this caliber of player. Off the tee, plays perfectly for a backhand roller. Wanna throw something very understable to fight the right to left hillside. Ideally you wanna end up about 130-140 meters off the tee. Hopefully curl more right than cut left, because off the right side you have a better angle to access the gap towards this green. You can even eagle this hole if you throw the perfect roller and a far distance driver flex shot. More common play though is to throw that roller, get somewhere through the gap and pitch up under the basket for your easy birdie 4.
Here we see Mauri shaping the roller. Lands it on cut, is looking to have this flip over to the right a little bit sooner than it is. That tree, unclear if that helped him or hindered him. He will be slightly pinched on the angle, but it's good progress down the fairway. Niklas with a similar shape pushes that ceiling, but lands slightly less of a cut angle, allowing him to turn over sooner and get more rightwards movement. That's well executed.
Both players in good position, not in eagle position. Lauri with more of a higher land on the hill, and you can see he's significantly more on that right side, which is going to open up more of a straight shot towards the basket. And that straight shot is going to allow you to get more distance. So more potential for the eagle. I'd say he's still a little bit short of the ideal landing zone.
Teemu has a ton of speed on this, but doesn't find the understability he needs as he pushes towards the OB. That tree, I believe, saves him. Anything on that road or further left would be out of bounds. So I believe he's safe, but will be forced to play very awkwardly given the Mando down there to the left, forcing players to the right. Lauri looking to shape this late gap, but that big evergreen stopping his flight. Still birdie in play, however, given the forgiving nature of this course and particularly this par 5 hole 3.
That's going to be a theme on this course. You can often save your birdie even from non-ideal position. And Niklas cut roller on the second shot, very touchy play, as if you don't turn over your roller, you can easily find that left side OB. I have done that personally many times in my life, but he had perfect touch there. And Teemu with a whippy forehand. He has heavy arm action on his forehand, helping from that kneeling stance.
Mauri here, going to the forehand Anheuser, is looking to shape this through the gap and hold left pretty much as long as he can have it. That soft ending to the right negates the slope of the hill nicely, prevents too much danger, and that's pretty center fairway, cut and dry. Well done. We go now to Teemu, looking to use the width and height to find his way to the green, but this is too early on the fade.
Easy mistake to do. You can't really feel the hillside when you're looking at the approach, but if you look at the angle of the ground sloping to the left, it makes sense why all of the discs end up fading way more than you would think. Even Lauri there going extremely wide, but fading inside the circle there for a clean look.
Mauri opting for the forehand here. Gets his hyzer flip up to flat, and just such a good control of the stability. Comes up just a little bit shy, but I think on this downward slope, that's exactly what you're trying to do. And we see they're caddying for him in this final round. FPO Estonian player Kaidi Alsalu. Some great support from his fellow Estonians, even on the bag.
Nice approach there from Niklas. Yeah, you mentioned the Estonian support. That's pretty cool to see. And actually, Mauri has already played multiple events inside of Estonia, this being his first event of the year outside of his home country. Great birdie there from Lauri. He's playing more relaxed after an untypical off-season where he was not practicing as much as usual, taking a little break from disc golf, but now he's back to shredding.
Speaking of shredding, Mauri clean on the pole with his putt once again. We see now Niklas lining up that short tap in.
This hole was playing very easy, 53% birdie and even one eagle in the field by no other than the big American thrower Ezra Aderhold, getting inside the circle on his third.
Pretty incredible stuff. As we see the standings, if you look at that third column, they're in various states of completing their final round, but a lot of names are making a push. Here we are on hole 4, a 109-meter par 3 with a late gap, probably 75 or so meters through. Players are going to want to punch through this gap with either a forehand or backhand, and ideally turn through the gap, either by flexing something overstable, probably on a forehand, or using some slight understability on the backhand. You see this very treacherous green. The basket is perched right on the edge of a slope, which can be quite unforgiving to a missed putt, or even a tee shot that just comes in on the wrong angle. Difficult to stick that upper plateau. We will see how our players choose to approach it. Mauri, strong forehand player, and uses slightly more understable discs than the average forehand dominant player, but has done that really well. Fantastic control. Will be left with a bit of a death putt, but at a very reasonable range, particularly for him.
Yes, very high percentage putt there for Mauri. And this hole is shaped beautifully for Niklas's backhand. Kind of missing the gap. I believe he did this in another round as well. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Niklas did miss it to the left. It might have been somebody else, but the point remains that this hole is surprisingly easy to miss to the left side as you're trying to throw something slightly turning. Not gonna be Lauri though. Beautiful shot, I believe going with a mid-range there. Just perfect angle control.
Lauri throws mid-ranges better than almost anyone. So comfortable at navigating and using that glide that they can offer, that straight pushing flight. We go to Teemu here, who finds a slightly late release on his soft turnover. As a result, he kicks in. That will likely just be a jump putt layup. We go now to Niklas, looking to approach off the knee with the forehand anhyzer.
Nice touch there, landing on the correct side of the basket. Don't really want to challenge that hillside on the left. Not with the backhand, not with the forehand, as both offer great roll-away potential.
Mauri, a potentially scary putt, unless your last name is a Villmann, because that just looks too easy for him. So he puts himself 3 under through the first 4, and is continuing the pace which he set in the first 2 rounds, landing him his solo lead position.
This very much reminds me of, I believe, was it 2 years ago, when Mauri was having an incredible start to the season. He was just destroying multiple events in a row, beating the field by many strokes in each of them. Moving on to hole number 5. Couple of choices here off the tee. Par 4, 219 meters. If you want to go for the high turnover shot off the tee, you can actually cut off most of those 219 meters. Get yourself a short approach between 30 and 80 meters. The more common play nowadays, I feel like, is the straight forehand or the straight roller, taking the left side of the fairway. leaving yourself with a longer and more uphill approach, but you have a beautiful angle to the green if you take that left side, setting up really nicely for a forehand hyzer. I'd say this hole is mostly about the drive. If you get your drive in great position, the approach is pretty simple.
Mauri getting this flipped up to flat, a fortunate kick back out to the right. That could have gone either way and had potentially flirted with that dangerous OB line. Lauri here going for the most aggressive play, which is the high Anheuser ending to the right the entire way. You really don't want it to fade or stall out at all, as that's when you find the dividing rough between the two fairways, which gives you very little to work with. Niklas playing the understable roller, another common and pretty well-suited throw in terms of shape for this hole, but curls up 1 meter too soon and finds himself in those trees' edge.
Teemu as well, roller. I love the angle here with that understable disc. Just needs to flip over finally. And look at the distance he's getting off the tee. That's not gonna be more than about 50 to 60 meters to the pin. I believe that's the longest roller I've ever seen on this hole.
Mauri up first on his approach, throwing a huge forehand hyzer, flipping the catch cam and just spiking into the green. That was enormous. Absolutely huge throw.
It's hard to describe how big that was. I think he had about 120 meters to go. Very uphill. A lot of hyzer out of the hand. As Niklas also going to be putting for the birdie, similar range, potentially a bit worse of an angle with the right-left slope from his angle compared to Mauri.
Lauri well done to get himself up into the green for his birdie putt. Teemu, as you said, huge drive, leaves him just a short chip hyzer as well. And he's executed nicely, leaving him with a birdie putt. We go first to Niklas.
Really good release there. He's gonna be annoyed with a par on this hole, as it's also a very scoreable one, 37%. And Mauri, I would call that a bit of a spit out. I think he went through the left side chains, definitely on the left side of the pole, but that one should have caught.
And Lauri in for his birdie. If you ever get confused between these two, Lauri and Mauri, you can just think Lauri, L for Latitude 64, his sponsor, or Mauri for MVP Discs, his sponsor. Teemu, well done. Pretty stress-free 3 for him on this hole.
I really like this hole by Teemu. You could see that forehand approach and how comfortable he is with it. Not really utilizing the body that much, but just beautiful whipping action with the arm. He has great spin on that forehand.
Here we see hole 6, a 115-meter par 3 sloping right to left as well as softly downhill the entire way. You have OB lining the left side, and as a result, a lot of players will choose between the two most popular options, a forehand hyzer with some late overstability fading back to the right, or some understable, a backhand shot, likely with a slower disc to try and control the speed on that downslope putter or mid-range at most for these players, and a very attackable hole. Elias, statistically, what do we see here?
Statistically, we see that this hole on average creates the most inside of circle 2 putts for birdie out of all holes on the course. So what I mean is that 91% of the field is putting for birdie inside the circle 2 or inside of circle 1. And Teemu is going to be one of those. But besides circle 2 and circle 1, he's also going to be inside the bullseye, so no stress there.
And a touch of early release, leaving Teemu up to the right. We go now to Mauri. Using the width, significant hyzer angle with a soft flip up. That's that sort of long hyzer shape. Comes in really nicely to the green with a soft skip right about circle's edge, looking downhill for his 2. Niklas, more a fan of that understable putter. Thrown nice and smooth. Comes up a bit short, but I think that was more due to the height than anything else. The speed of the disc is certainly enough for him to get there. This is what he's left with.
Very makeable putt here. Just pulling it to the right. You can see that he wasn't going for a very aggressive direct putt, rather hanging it out to the right. Teemu also very relaxed on the release. More of a layup than a run. This hole offers a unique feature to this course, which almost all holes have, as Mauri misses low, which is that many of the greens are just slightly slanted, where if you're on the higher side of the green and you miss, you're always gonna have a comebacker. Something like this. Niklas, he didn't really blow it past the basket very hard, still having 7 meters to work with.
As we're left with these short tap-ins. If you can avoid the OB here on 6, it doesn't come with too much other danger. You can see that even those who took some risks on the putting green ended up with their 3, were able to make the comebackers despite that slope.
I sort of like proved to myself that I still got it. Whatever is meant to happen with me will happen. And what I want wants me even more, so I just have to be open to receive it.
Hole number 7. 105 meter tunnel shot. We're playing uphill, so the distance is probably requiring more or closer to 130 meters, 125 meters of power if you want to park the hole. Common play is to throw your fairway driver very hard, or some players even clubbing up to a distance driver on this hole. Gap is very wide, so I wouldn't be expecting to see any missed gaps by this card. It's more about angle and height control. Don't want to throw too far nose up, but also get it high enough where you can actually reach the basket.
Lauri with a hyzer release right up the middle. A good flip up and a soft, stable finish at the end, right near that big stump. That is a good drive, leaving him a birdie look. We go now to Teemu in round 2. Absolutely parked this hole. Round 3, not quite the same story.
No, even missing the fairway slightly to the right. I feel like somehow that right side miss is more common than the left side miss. More forgiving as well, as Mauri has thrown a beautiful shot down the middle. Not really letting these guys off the hook. Starting 3 under through 6. And that's gonna be 4 under through 7 most likely.
A beautiful flex by Niklas. Gets up there just a little bit short and right, but the shape complete down the fairway. And with a nice soft landing, we go to Teemu here as a very long uphill putt. Fades a little bit early in the flight. We see here Niklas rather.
Just not really looking dialed in this final round. I feel like this might be an opinion more than a fact. But I think that's the difference between when Niklas is playing really good and when he's playing sort of average, is that his putt on his great day is just pure perfection. But when he's not having the best day, he does sometimes miss even from 10 meters or shorter.
Mauri has done well there, getting himself to 31 under, currently 6 strokes ahead of Lauri, sitting in 3rd. Here we see hole 8, a 90-meter par 3 island hole offering you 2 initial gaps off the tee as the drone flies to the left of that slanted tree or up the middle. You then have to beat these guardians just at the edge of the island, get your disc onto the green and make your putt on this elevated basket, adding just an additional layer of complexity to an otherwise quite simple and straightforward hole.
the stats would agree with you. 58% of the field taking a birdie here. Mauri going to be one of them. That's on the edge of the bullseye. He went with a wider forehand gap, so clearly going around the guardian tree. I think Lauri is trying to do the same, but challenging the tree just on the inside side there.
We see Teemu now also opting for the forehand. Gets it nose up, gets it hyzer, and hits one of those trees. He is right at the island's edge, and a very good chance that he has not made the island. We will have to see where he throws from next. We go now to Niklas, who has a great backhand, I'll say, for this sort of shape. Still opts to go for the forehand hyzer.
No problem there with the result. I don't think he's gonna be happy with the shot, but gonna take that tap in birdie. Looks like Teemu was OB, giving it a great run from this drop zone. And once again, you have a sneaky slope on the green, where Teemu's putt on a flat green would have been much closer than where he's now.
Oi, 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 Lauri Lehtinen. Little highlight putt there, floats it in over the cage. We get another look at the form here. Full extension of the arm, the height, the width. Scoops on in. Fantastic birdie from Lauri to get himself 5 under for the round already on the 8th hole.
Niklas with a patented Nikkenosto. And Mauri, no need for a pitch putt. He only goes for this spin putt from all distances. Quite impressive that he can keep the line even from short distance. As we're moving on to hole number 9, finishing the front 9 with one of the most satisfying shots you can find on this course, honestly on any course. 288 on the distance, playing closer to 230 or 240. You can bite off a lot of distance off the tee if you throw your glidey stable distance driver high enough where the downhill grade is helping you. You can easily throw 160, even 170 meters off the tee, leaving you with a straight to slight hyzer approach to this green, where really the only danger is gonna be OB long. So second shot gonna be all about that distance control, first shot gonna be all about that power.
And the only real mistake that you'll see here is players flipping up something too flat and going into the tree line on the right. It's important that they keep it on hyzer angle, especially given how much room there is to the left. And great ground play for Mauri. That is pretty much crushed on what looks like a very casual hyzer shape.
Lauri higher line here, needs to fade before the tree line, and he has done it. And you can see the higher line here, getting some more help from the downhill grade compared to Mauri. Lower and more penetrating. Also the angle difference is gonna be Lauri more on the left side, opening up more of a hyzer look.
Niklas turning his back quickly on that one. Unclear if he knew it's in the fairway or if he was simply unhappy with the release, but it is quite alright.
Wow, really high line from Teemu. I'm wondering, why is he going so high here? It looked like a good release. I don't think he accidentally released it too high. But maybe he just wants to throw the hyzer approach to the green.
I like the hyzer into the green because it's much easier to control the distance with the OB long. Getting something up to flat can be kind of spooky, to be honest, on the second shot. And although it didn't work out for him, I think the hyzer plays a little bit more reliable. And the rain has now begun to pour down on our lead card. This weather was not really forecasted until late last night, leading into the final day. These players were expecting a bit drier than this, but they will be put to the test here against the course as well as the conditions. We see Mauri's upshot.
Pushing it out to the right. The tree that he hit there is a very common obstacle to hit if you're not quite pushing your hyzer inside. The thing is, you want to put it as far to the right as you possibly can with the limits of the fairway to hopefully create more of that hyzer angle on the landing to move more sideways compared to towards the long side road.
Teemu dropping to the knee, likely just going to be playing a chip, forehand hyzer, land it before the pin, gets it right up there. Fantastic execution.
Let's see Niklas to finish on a good note on the front nine, and that's not going to be a front nine he's happy with. He knows that on this course you have to be shooting double digits, ideally even better to make up some ground on the leader.
See here, Lauri has birdied 5 of his last 6, make it 6 of his last 7. Fantastic front nine that he's put together now, pushing to 27 under, potentially beginning to close the gap against our leader. We'll see what he has to say about that. Niklas a touch low. Just seems a little bit off compared to the Niklas we normally see here, at least on lead and chase card.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see, of course. From a Finnish standpoint, he's the best player we have and one of the best players in the world, but that just shows that nobody is really untouchable in this sport. You can have a bad day even if you're one of the best players in the world.
And as we see our leaderboard check in, Mauri Villmann retaining solo first. Lauri with a good buffer as well over Niklas in third, but the field is pushing very strongly. We see a bunch of strong contenders trying to make that final day movement up to those coveted podium positions. What an exciting end to this front nine, Elias.
Yeah, we're gonna have some more birdies on the back nine. Maybe somebody can catch Mauri if he's gonna make a couple of mistakes. Thank you guys for watching and catch you on the back.
Hit subscribe. We're almost at 50K. Do it now. Do it fast.